Hey y'all, welcome to my little corner of the world and to my first solo podcast. I'm Kacie, just your average bipolar hedgewitch who loves to create safe spaces for our community to thrive in. In that capacity, I'm a volunteer coordinator for the annual DFW Pagan Unity Fest and monthly group spells hostess and co-moderator for the Facebook community for the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour podcast. It was through that space that I got to know Kim of Clever Kim's Curios and the Your Average Witch podcast. She even had me on for an interview about a year ago, though I was a ball of anxiety and needed to be walked through it like a kindergartner. She held my hand through the whole thing. Last fall, I was honored when my friend asked me to join her for a monthly segment for that very same podcast on her Snackisodes. She got to know me a little better last year as she helped me prepare for the Anahata's Purpose Retreat. When she asked me if I wanted to join her podcast for the monthly segment, I was so excited, but I had no idea what to do. So I do what I always do. I grabbed a snack and shared my stories about my life as a community building bipolar hedge witch who also happens to be a mom, wife, and a private dog groomer for special needs dogs. The thread that weaves through all aspects of my life and everything I do is navigating the world with the way my bipolar afflicted brain works and how it sometimes keeps me from having any feeling of community. It wasn't that long ago that I didn't think any of the stuff that I do now was possible. When I first received my bipolar diagnosis, it felt like a death sentence. No cure, endless management, always the threat of fatality, always the certainty of another cycle, never able to trust yourself. Warned if you think too confidently and have too much self esteem, you're delusional, so don't. Knowledge of the stats of financial ruin and eventual isolation. I was resentful for a long time. Of course, sometimes I still am. I never thought I would be able to do the things I do now. At the time, I didn't know anyone I could look up to with a bipolar diagnosis that wasn't the target for tabloid fodder or treated like some stereotype in a movie. The stigma was brutal. The people I knew in my real life were isolated. It was a scary thing, or I was a scary thing that could go off at any moment. So don't get too close. Then around that time, something amazing started happening. When I was going through cognitive behavioral therapy, people like Catherine Zeta Jones started coming out publicly with their bipolar diagnosis and started working to change the stigma. She was someone I already admired, and then to know she was struggling just like me, but was still a mom and wife and had her career and philanthropy work that she was able to do, I was blown away. More came out and joined the work, but she will always be the one who changed my life and gave me hope when I really needed it. As I worked harder and harder to succeed and meet my goals, I talked more about it and saw that I was not the only one. Every time I shared my struggles and triumphs with this form of disability, just first through on my personal Facebook page, then more publicly in groups and videos and interviews, I was reminded how not alone I really am. Whether it's a bipolar diagnosis or the number of other neurodivergences and atypical things that get labeled a mental disability in our society, we are out here in this world living our best lives and thriving despite what worst case scenarios we've been told is a destiny upon our diagnosis. We are out here making a new world with new boundaries and spaces for ourselves and refuse to hide away at home or locked up in institutions as we had been not too long ago. This world, the way our society works, it wasn't made for us. It was made to exclude us in many ways. It was designed that way long ago. Yet, like so many others, once relegated to the shadows, we are out in the sun and thriving, baby. Sure, the struggle is real. The anxiety is real. The threat is real. but so is the joy. The hope is real. The courage to overcome is real. The love we find is real. None of it is just in our heads. All of it is just as physical as any other more visible disability. It is for all these reasons and more that I do the work I do to build community and find safe spaces for folks like me and anyone who has felt rejected by their community for their differences and neurodivergences. I share my stories and I no longer feel so isolated with my internal chaos. I once read a book written by a bipolar author on how to survive this diagnosis that she said that joining some sort of community is vital. She advised the most common places people in our society find community is churches. Well, given some of my childhood trauma is church related and, I'm a witch, that was a no-go. She also mentioned volunteering, and that was something I was familiar with from my student council days. So I began looking for ways I could volunteer in the pagan community. I volunteered to be a content creator for a page called Pagan Parents. I volunteered for local community events like the DFW Pagan Unity Fest and the North Texas Irish Festival. I joined online communities like the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour Coven and shared my stories and volunteered to lead the monthly group spells when I saw people asking for more group work. I learned how to talk to people when I felt like I spoke another language than everyone else. I found people who spoke my language. These communities grounded me in reality and not in the endless cycles my brain can take me on when left to my own devices. I have a schedule and routine and responsibilities and people who hold me accountable. I also have people who hold space for me and lift me up and help me battle the darkest shadows of my mind. It's these people and these moments are why I continue to share my stories and ramblings. It's why I started my YouTube channel and took my social media postings public and started a blog. We are not alone. I want to keep making these spaces for us to exist in. I want to keep sharing my stories and finding spaces for us to exist in this world. Whether it's at festivals or retreats or events or public parks or museums, whether witch or neurodivergent or just whatever, there's is plenty of space for us in this world too. This is why I first agreed to join Clever Kim's podcast, and that first interview on the Your Average Witch. Then as a monthly guest in the Snackisodes. And it is for this reason I am now taking the Snackisodes solo in my own Casey's Corner, the Snackisodes podcast. When Kim decided she needed to make some changes to her own lineup, she was so kind to suggest this and has been so helpful in getting me ready for this next phase of my journey. I'm continuing on the same premise that my monthly segments already have, so grab a snack and join me for a snack-sized visit to my little corner of the world as I share the stories of my life as a bipolar witch who also happens to be mom, wife, dog groomer extraordinaire. Each new episode will come out on the last Monday of the month, allowing me to share my stories from the events of that month as well as give y'all a heads up on some events for the coming month. I'm also adding exclusive seasonal group spells for my Ko-fi members. If you are familiar with my monthly group work in the Wabah community, that's Witch Bitch Amateur Hour, you will recognize the format. Except instead of voting on the topic, we will be virtually working together with a seasonal focus, and we will gather in my new Facebook group for my Ko-fi members. Keep an eye out for the links to that after today's podcast release, by the way. I plan to continue my work over in the Wabah Coven and in my local pagan community, but look forward to hosting witches in my own corners of the world, virtually or auditorily, like in this podcast. I hope you'll join me on this new adventure and the many more I plan to have. Thank you so much for joining me as I introduce myself and this new adventure to the world. Don't forget to follow me on my YouTube channel, Casey's Corner, and my other socials, which you can find linked in the description. If you have any events you think I should be attending or shouting out, you can email me at Casey at welcometocasiescorner.com. And be sure to check out my new page and shop over at Ko-fi, Ko/F ko-fi.com/Casey's Corner, where I'll soon be adding exclusive content for my members, including the exclusive Facebook group for us to host seasonal group spells. The Ko-fi funds the Ko-fi also funds my unboxing videos and major event travels, which is how I will get back to Anahata's if the stars align. I'll also be adding more to my shop over there, so keep an eye out for those updates. Thank you so much to everyone who's become a member over there so far and purchased from my shop as I learned how to use that page. Y'all are my OGs. I love you. Thank you again to Kim from the Your Average Witch podcast for helping me so much over the past few years and just for being an amazing friend. I love you, Kimothy. Long distance group hugs to all of you. Up next is my first official solo Snackisode episode discussing my winter camping trip, my first time managing a building at the North Texas Irish Festival, and letting y'all know about some upcoming events as we head into the spring season. So go grab a snack and meet me right back here for more story time in my little corner of the world.